Polls show that most residents of red and purple states support some abortion restrictions, but most also support some abortion access. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, opinions have shifted to the left. Even in many conservative states, ballot initiatives to expand abortion rights would have a good chance of receiving 50% of the vote, and 60% is not out of the question. Jeffrey Katzenberg has vowed to deliver all the resources Joe Biden needs for his 2024 re-election campaign as the Hollywood studio executive and prominent Democratic donor shrugged off concerns about the president's political prospects. In a relentlessly upbeat interview, the co-chair of Biden's campaign, who plays an important role in the fundraising effort, said he was confident of pulling in more than the $1 billion of contributions received during the 2020 race. And with the end of Title 42, immigration authorities and groups that help immigrant families handed out flyers today, encouraging migrants who cross into the U.S., avoiding legal ports of entry, to turn themselves in at a nearby processing center to be processed by CPB officials and placed on the correct immigration path. Some of the migrants agonized over their next move, attempting to navigate the complex immigration process for a chance to remain in the United States. A government-owned Egyptian broadcaster has responded to the casting of a Black actress to play Cleopatra in the Netflix docudrama series African Queens, which streams from May 10th, by announcing production of its own big-budget Cleopatra documentary. Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the government entity in charge of heritage, has complained on Twitter that statues of Queen Cleopatra confirmed that she had Greek features distinguished by light skin, a drawn-out nose, and thin lips. The director of the Netflix docudrama responded by saying, "Why do some people need Cleopatra to be white?" The director defending the casting in Variety Online last month said, "Perhaps it's not just that I've directed a series that portrays Cleopatra as Black, but that I have asked Egyptians to see themselves as Africans, and they are furious at me for that." According to Rolling Stone magazine, CNN's town hall last night with Donald Trump was a effing disgrace. Now, they say these are the words of a network insider. This insider said 1,000% a mistake to host Trump. No one at CNN is happy. Journalists and political pundits are criticizing CNN for giving Trump a platform to spew 70 minutes of lies. He lied about the 2020 election. He took no responsibility for the January 6th insurrection that those very lies incited. And he even mocked E. Jean Carroll's allegations of sexual assault, which a jury found him liable for just on Tuesday. It was Trump's unhinged social media feed brought to life on stage, conducted in front of a Republican audience that applauded him, giving a sense of endorsement to his shameful tactics. The backlash has been so intense that reports say that the president of CNN had to address the backlash in his morning editorial meeting. Some experts say the network knew exactly what it was doing, which was giving Trump a national platform while positioning its new primetime anchor, Caitlin Collins. Well, the Food and Drug Administration announced on Thursday that it had formally ended the agency's wide-ranging prohibition on blood donations from gay and bisexual men, a long-standing policy that had been denounced by many as discriminatory. You are watching and listening to Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. This is hour 2, and today it is the great debate. We're going to be debating who will win the White House, who's going to win some of these incredible culture wars that we see taking place all over the country. I have with me in this hour, Craig DeLuce. He's the founder of Uncommon Sense Media Group, and he's a candidate for California's 6th Congressional District. Also, here on audio is Kendra Cotton. She is CEO of the New Georgia Project. When we come forward, we're going to talk with Craig and Kendra about Donald Trump's performance last night, culture wars over everything from abortion rights to what books get read in school by school children, and who's going to be the nominee for both the Democratic, well, we know Joe Biden because yes, he's running unopposed, but the Republican nominee for president in 2024. Stay with us right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
I'm young, gifted, and black. At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Two of Areva Martin in real time, and this is the great debate. I'm joined by Craig DeLuz. He's the founder of Uncommon Sense Media Group, and he's a candidate for California's 6th Congressional District. And on the line is Kendra Scott. She is the CEO of the New Georgia Project. I want to start with you, Craig. What do you make of Donald Trump's performance last night? He's getting lots of praise from Republicans who said they could not believe he had an hour to be on the national stage on CNN, and they thought things went really well. Now, in contrast, some Republicans are blasting him, saying it was a disgrace. Which camp do you fall into?
Well, the only people that are blasting are disgrace are the people who are part of the Never Trump crowd. I will say that Donald Trump accomplished exactly what he wanted to accomplish. He got over an hour during on a major network. an opportunity to talk directly. Basically got an hour-long free commercial. And that was his goal. Donald Trump was Donald Trump. He was bombastic. He was hyperbolic. He raised questions. He questioned. I mean, it was one of those things where I don't understand. Well, I do understand what CNN thought. CNN realized that their ratings went into the tank as soon as Donald Trump was no longer president. And they realized that in order to get those ratings back up, they need to get Donald Trump back on their screens. And Donald Trump realized, hey, this is an opportunity once again to have a free hour-long commercial. And he took full advantage of it.
Yeah, Craig, just on that rating piece, I don't know if you've seen the ratings that came out. He got about the town hall got about 3 million viewers, much less than what Joe Biden got when he did a town hall. So yes, it was more than some recent shows on CNN have gained, but it was not the big blockbuster that they had anticipated. And in fact, as I said, the ratings were lower than ratings have been for Joe Biden in a similar town hall format. Let me ask you, Kendra, what did you think? And Craig said, hey, this was a free commercial. He got to just say whatever he wanted to, and he had folks there cheering him on.
Craig told not one lie. I mean, that is what it was, a free commercial, and it's perfectly fine. But I think, CNN did not get what they were banking on getting. I think the backlash has caught them and caused them to be back on their heels a little bit. I think they're smarting and now having to respond from that craziness that went on. I think they were, super surprised by the posture of the crowd and how they were really just kind of, out for blood and clapping at anything, that Trump said. I didn't think that they thought that the crowd was going to be as into the vitriol as they were. And so I think now this is going to stay in a news cycle a little bit longer than they wanted it to. And it's really turned from, the substance of what was said in the town hall to more so about him even being granted and gifted that format and platform in the first place. And that's not where CNN wants to be.
Yeah, and let me also push back, Craig, on your statement that the Republicans that are complaining or that are attacking Trump are never Trumpers. That's not altogether true. In fact, it's not true at all, because Governor Chris Christie, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who was not a never Trumper, who supported Donald Trump, who was on network television and cable television for years supporting him, he came out and bashed the president on several issues, one including he said how ridiculous it was that he would try to do it, turning Ukraine over to Putin and Russia, basically saying that, Donald Trump would not acknowledge that he would support Ukraine over Russia. He hashtag Putin's puppet. So you had folks like Chris Christie who are not never Trumpers.
But you do have, but Christie is considering a presidential run in this cycle. So there's a reason why he would criticize him.
Okay. But where are you on what Donald Trump said about the Ukraine and Russia? He would not denounce Russia. And, when Donald Trump was in office, what swirled around him forever was this notion that he was Putin's puppet, that he would not denounce him. Biden has called Putin a war criminal. Where are you on the position that Donald Trump took last night on Ukraine?
Well, the position that he took was multi-phase. Number one, he said that if he were in power, if Donald Trump had been reelected, he said that, quite frankly, Putin would not have gone into Ukraine. Now, keep in mind, you had, before Donald Trump got elected, during the Obama administration, you had Putin go into Russia, go into Crimea. Then, after Donald Trump was president, you had Putin again go into Ukraine. Notice there's something that did not happen there, and that is during the Trump administration, there were no invasions by Russia. Now, mind you, the one thing that he said about Putin, the one kind word he said was, Putin is smart. Now, I'll just be the first to say that doesn't mean that he's a good man. That doesn't mean that he's a moral man. That doesn't mean that he's someone should be supported. But when you acknowledge that someone is intelligent and smart, what you're doing is you're not underestimating your enemy.
What do you say to that, Kendra? I can think of a lot of things you're doing when you say something.
Yeah, well, Craig, I got to push back, brother, because like, here's the deal. Like everything you said sounds like somebody doing a solid for one of their homeboys. So is our Trump and Putin tight is what you're trying to get over? Because what you're saying is he's like, okay, I'm not going to act a fool while you in office because I know that you are at the same level of crazy that I am. That's what it's sounding like to me, because what we're trying to hold Russia to, basic standards of human dignity and decency. And Trump is not, right? Trump, like what you're saying feeds into the narrative that people are saying that Trump is Putin's puppet.
No, I think that the point here is that if you think that in particular, people who are leading totalitarian regimes, if you think that they are interested in whether or not we consider them to be advocates for human rights and doing the right thing, no, they respect power. And whether it's China, whether it's North Korea, whether it's Iran, or whether it is Russia, when they look at the United States right now, what they see is weakness. And with Donald Trump, and I think this is one point you made that I will agree with. What they saw was, yeah, I don't know if I want to mess around with Donald Trump because I really don't want to find out.
Or did they see a brother fascist? Like, that's what I'm pushing back on. Like, what they respect fascism, like he seems to respect fascism. Under the Trump administration, that strongman persona it's bull. Like, that's not what America should exude. We respond swiftly to that type of behavior, which is why we are allied with the Ukraine against Russia.
Well, let's be clear. Donald Trump was the first one to provide actual weapons and resources to Ukraine for them to be able to defend themselves. The Obama administration didn't do anything. And then the Biden administration did so afterwards. I mean, the fact is that right now, no one has any respect for the United States when it comes to foreign countries. I mean, you literally have people from all over the world are sending their citizens to our southern border.
Craig, hold up. Where's the? You're talking to a lawyer here. When you say no one in the entire country, entire world, not the country, the world has respect for the U.S. Where's the evidence of that? You can't just make those.
That's hyperbole. But go ahead.
Just all you have to do is look at the militaristic things that China is currently doing right there in their backyard when it comes to Taiwan. They have no respect for Biden. Take a look at what Russia is doing right now over there in Ukraine. What they're showing is that they have no respect for us. They know that when they go in there, they know that in the end, we're not really going to do anything. We're not going to stand up and do what it is that we need to do.
That's what. Wait a minute, Craig. What is it you want us to do? You want us to go in and use military might? What is it? This strong man?
No. What I'm saying was Putin didn't think we would. Putin did not believe. Putin did not believe that we would assist.
And now he has egg on his face. And he's losing a war.
Hold on.
Right. But what I'm saying is, but keep in mind, it was the inherent weakness that they saw in Joe Biden that made them feel strong enough to do that.
Craig, I'm going to mute you. If you guys do not follow the rules, there have to be rules. Otherwise, nobody can
I will follow the rules, but let's keep in mind.
No, Craig, you're going to follow the rules.
You did cut me off first.
Because my boss is going to be very upset because he's going to say this is not a radio show because nobody can understand anything that anyone is saying. So we have to allow everyone to speak one at a time, or else it's just a lot of chaos and people turn us off, and that's not going to be a good thing. So
I will just state this, if I may.
No, you cannot. You have to wait and follow the rules.
I will follow the rules.
Otherwise, we're not having a show. We're just having chaos. I want to move on from the Ukraine. I want to talk about what Donald Trump said about E. Jean Carroll during this town hall. Some call it a spectacle. He mocked her. He again said that, her sexual assault, what was deemed to be sexual assault by this jury in Manhattan, that it didn't happen, that it was fake. Now, we know that to win a presidential election, you got to go beyond your base. So even if you become the candidate with your base and your party, you've got to reach out and you've got to get votes by independents. You've got to get swing votes. You got to get suburban votes, and mostly you got to get suburban women votes. Do you think, Craig, by continuing to malign E. Jean Carroll after you just lost the civil lawsuit to her, where you have been ordered to pay $5 million, that it is a good strategy to continue to deny the allegations and to mock and malign this woman, 79-year-old white woman, when you are going to need white women suburban voters?
Well, okay, so to be clear, in this particular case, what we're talking about is something that happened 30 years ago. And I think that he noted that whatever he is accused of occurred 30 years ago. There were no charges filed at that time. In fact, nothing really came out until about 25 years later. The point that he was trying to make is that I think that people are looking at when it comes to that issue. First of all, last night, Republican voters in general saw this as a hit piece. They saw it as a Democrat-funded lawsuit, because keep in mind, we're not talking a criminal lawsuit, we're talking a civil lawsuit. Additionally, the jury came back and said, they basically said, well, no, he didn't rape you. They did say that he likely engaged in a quote unquote an assault. And the challenge here is that that's not what she claimed. She claimed that he raped her. In fact, she claimed that rape was sexy. If you look at who she is and you look at her background, it's a little hard to take those accusations seriously. Now, when you look at that town hall audience, you're going to invite a bunch of Republicans, and then you're going to have a moderator that's going to ask them questions that most of those Republicans really are not questions that they would ask. I would say, I would agree
I got to tell you to wrap, Fred. If
I may just make this one last
30
point.
30 seconds. Go ahead.
What I will agree with you is this. It will not hurt him in a Republican primary, but it may cost him votes in the general election.
All right, Kendra. So let's unpack what Craig said. First of all, the jurors did not determine that she was likely sexually assaulted. They determined that she was sexually assaulted. That was very clear.
Right.
She was not raped.
She was not raped, but sexual assault is the unwarranted touching, the non-consensual touching of my genitals. That is a big issue. That is something we cannot gloss over. And that is something that he now owes her $5 million for, that plus defaming her. So, Kendra, the question to Craig was, and Craig seems to suggest that's not going to matter to the Republican base, that he sexually assaulted and defamed an older white woman. What do you think about how that's going to play to white women in a general election, that now we have on the record Donald Trump is a sexual abuser?
I think I agree with Craig with regard to the fringe elements of the Republican Party and the Republican base not really giving a lot of credence to the verdict, because the verdict was handed down in New York City, and they feel like that entire state would be biased against former President Trump, and that he can't get a fair shake there. Fine. But when it comes to suburban white women that are independents in the electorate that could swing either way, the ones that broke away from Trump in 2020, I think it's going to harm him tremendously. I think that verdict, because they see themselves in E. Jean Carroll, she looks like one of them. She speaks like one of them. And I'm sure a lot of them are going to reflect upon some unwanted advances that they've had in their own lifetimes. And that, entire process was probably quite triggering for a lot of those women. And so, they're going to sit around in their spas and coffee shops and, nail shops, whatever, and discuss it. And then they're also going to discuss the fact that he's wholly unrepentant. Even if he felt like he was wronged, he has expressed, sorrow at all for that, her having that experience. He's not apologized for saying, listen, you got it wrong. I don't think it went to the degree in which you're saying. He said nothing. He has laughed at her, made jokes about it, as you've already said, Areva, defamed her publicly. He did so last night. And that is super off-putting. That's not a good person, and that's what people are going to read.
Yeah, he doubled down on his attack on her. And I don't know what Republican strategist would tell Donald Trump it is a good idea to insult women, not just white women, but women all over this nation, when knowing that you cannot win the general election. You may get through that Republican primary with those diehards, with those extremists, but you're not going to win the general election, which is why he didn't win the general election in 2020. And to do the same thing over and think you're going to get a different result, we know that's the definition of insanity. And at some point, you have to pivot as a candidate to appeal to a broader demographic other than just your base. And that's going to be very difficult to Donald Trump to do when there is so much now on the record mocking and defaming and, critique of women. I can see the ads that are going to be run by the Democratic Party. And I can see women coming out in large numbers saying that this is a man they cannot vote for. How can you tell your daughters? How can you look your daughters in the face? How can you look your wife in your face, your mother, your sister, your female friends, and say, I voted for a guy who was adjudicated to have sexually assaulted a woman? And the fact that it happened 30 years ago is not relevant. The jury could have considered that they didn't. And what Trump tries to do is use the judicial system when it's to his favor, but when there's a determination that he doesn't like, then the whole judicial system is flawed. It's stacked against him. It's biased. But when the judicial system is used by him, which we know he files more lawsuits than anyone, then he is in favor of the judicial system. So when we come forward, I'm going to continue this conversation. I'm talking about some of these culture wars that are being stoked. Talk about Ron DeSantis and what role might he play, and could he actually beat Donald Trump in a Republican primary? Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4, only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your ear. Yeah.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me I'm a boy and girl. I'm young, gifted, and fun.
gifted and black. At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader. Follow 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 the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, ma. House shot with a rest bar. Shot with a rest bar. Shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
Get off the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics.
I'm back, and it is Great Debate Thursday. And joining me in this hour is Craig DeLuce. He's the founder, Uncommon Sense Media Group, and he's a candidate for California's 6th Congressional District. Also joining me is Kendra Scott. She's on audio today. She is the CEO of the New Georgia Project. I want to talk about DeSantis. I want to talk about culture wars. But first, let's talk about George Santos, who just been indicted on a 13-count indictment, including fraud, including making false statements to the House of Representatives. He's accused of taking public funds by getting unemployment benefits during COVID when he was actually employed. Just a litany of charges against George DeSantos. So, Craig, on one hand, you have Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, saying he's going to stick with Santos. He's not asking him to resign. He thinks he should remain in Congress. Obviously, he needs his vote on this critical debt ceiling, debt limit issue that's before the Congress. But you have local Republican leaders saying, can we just, get rid of this guy? Can we, what is it going to take to get rid of this guy? They have been asking for this guy to resign since day one. So what do you make of this? Are the Republicans being short-sighted by not forcing this guy out?
Kevin McCarthy has said that he is not supporting his reelection bid. He is not in a position to force him out of Congress, but he can make it very uncomfortable for him. And I believe that he's going to do what he can in order to make sure that that happens. The guy is an embarrassment. Let's just be real. The guy is an embarrassment. The guy should not be in Congress. Here's the deal. If there is a process in the state of New York to have him removed, it's up to the voters in that district to engage in that process and have him removed.
Kendra Cotton.
Girl, I've been cracking up.
I know I'm having a day today. I am so sorry. You're right. Maybe I'm thinking of jewelry. I don't know what I'm thinking about, but I've called you everything but your name. Miss Cotton, I'm so sorry.
It's been cracking me up.
I know. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't called her by the wrong name. So
but listen, Greg, I have a question for Greg. Who's embarrassed? Because the only person I've seen embarrassed about George Santos is Mitt Romney. Like, nobody is embarrassed. The only person that's really calling him out is Mitt Romney. The fact that the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, still won't call for that man to step down is problematic. And it shows how the Republican Party, like how they've really shifted. They have no morals. They have no values. They have no bottom. And I'm saying this as a person, and this is not casting aspersions to you. Let me tell you something. I was raised by a Black Republican, a Trump voting Republican. My daddy would vote for Trump tomorrow. So I know from what I'm talking about, there is no bottom anymore. There is no higher ground. They are no moral authorities. Who is calling for him to step down? He's not embarrassed. His constituents are embarrassed. His donors are embarrassed. The Democratic Party of New York is embarrassed because they didn't find all this mess out while he was running. But I don't see anyone in his party that's embarrassed. Everyone is walking on the periphery saying, well, let's just let the lawsuit play out. And let's just say this man just paid $5,000 to Brazil for check kiting, for stealing checks from somebody and writing bad checks on somebody else. So he just got out of that the day after he was indicted in New York. Go ahead. I see your finger.
Yeah, just real quick. Representative Anthony Espinoza, Republican, New York. Representative Nick Langworthy, Republican, New York. Representative Nick LaLota, Republican, New York. Representative Mark Molinaro. There's a whole list. All you got to do is Google it, from Ohio, from Utah, from South Carolina, from
Give me
Arkansas,
an approximation.
from Texas. My point is that
wait a
there are
minute.
Republicans
in the
out
House.
there.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
The House Republicans have the majority.
I thought we didn't interrupt people. I thought we only talked one at a time.
In the House, Republicans have the majority, correct?
Remember,
so if there a majority of
rules,
Republicans,
Kendra and Craig, you can't talk over each other. I'm just sitting back, letting you all have your
right.
moment.
My point is that there are lists upon lists of Republicans elected in Congress, elected at the local levels, who have said that he needs to resign. Now, the mainstream media is not going to cover that, but I'm telling you, there are plenty of Republicans that are saying he needs to resign.
No, I started out, Craig, by acknowledging that New York Republicans want the guy gone yesterday. They've been very vocal about how he is dead weight for the party, and I think it's going to be an opportunity. I think McCarthy is being short-sighted. He's making a huge mistake by not calling on him to resign. I think the Democrats may not only win that seat back, Santos' seat, I think they can win back other Republican seats in New York, and may be the ticket for us taking back the House. Let's talk about the Florida governor. Are you surprised, Kendra, that he's not getting more traction with the base of the Republican Party?
No, I'm not surprised, because it's kind of, even though Donald Trump is no longer sitting in the office of the president, he still has an incumbency advantage, if you will. And so it would be very, very hard for someone to come in, even though it's DeSantis, and take him over immediately. Okay. So you're going to see some sparring. You're going to see the back and forth that you're seeing. I mean, it's effectively a primary, but people are reticent to go against Trump. Like, you had a lot of folks in 2016 when he was running, discount his entire candidacy. And when he prevailed, they had to eat a lot of crow. And so they're trying to prevent that scenario from transpiring again. So I do think, there are people that are trying to walk a fine line down the middle. They're trying not to alienate either camp, and they're just trying to see what shakes out and what the electorate prefers.
Let me ask you this, Craig. I am no Ron DeSantis fan by any stretch of the imagination. I think the guy is evil. I think he's Trump just, with better suits. But he is less drama in some ways, not always, because he creates a lot of drama with all those extreme laws that he's been, sponsoring and forcing, through the legislature in Florida. But why wouldn't the Republican Party say, at least this guy, creates less drama. He's not been indicted. He hasn't been ordered to pay $5 million because he sexually abused someone. Why isn't your party embracing him?
I think part of the challenge is that people see, in particular, the way the mainstream media, the way Democrats, the way academia, the way the left has ruthlessly attacked Donald Trump and his supporters, have engaged in what can be labeled as political persecutions. And the thing is that the natural inclination for many folks is to say they're going to have his back. They're not necessarily, it's not necessarily that they love Donald Trump as much as they recognize the attacks that are on him, and they feel the need to rally around him. And it seems like every single time Democrats try to attack him, it's almost like throwing spinach at Popeye.
Okay, I hear you. But so, Kendra, I'll ask you this. You're a Democrat. You were raised by a Republican dad. You're in the South, and you have a Republican governor that I remember when he was running against Stacey Abrams this last time. I was talking to a political strategist from Georgia, and he told me that a lot of independents would vote for the governor because they thought things were fine. They thought things were okay. And again, your governor doesn't create all the chaos that Donald Trump creates. So when you think about the independents in Georgia, why are they sticking with Donald Trump?
Well, okay, I don't think we know yet that the independents in Georgia are going to stick with Donald Trump. I think that remains to be seen. I think what you were initially talking about with regard to Brian Kemp, and he is a part of that camp, that Never Trump camp. I think he was able to propel himself above Purdue in the primary by sticking with that message and that narrative, and it played well with the electorate, because I think a lot of people feel like that the reason Joe Biden carried Georgia in 2020 was largely due to the recklessness of Trump's administration and his words, and people tired of that. And again, like Kemp capitalized on that, and he took a gamble when other Republicans did not. He took a gamble, and he firmly planted his flag in that Never Trump camp. And, he was going to be the adult in the room. He was going to be a rational actor, and it worked for him. And I think I want to be clear, it wasn't just independents. There are a lot of Black voters in Georgia who also find Brian Kemp quite palatable, particularly Black men. They feel like he is good for business. And again, what he does and how he relays his message is very soothing to a lot of people. They think, he's going to make sound decisions. He's going to surround himself with experts. He's not going to operate off of emotion. Again, we can be comfortable that he is going to do what's in the best interest of the Georgia electorate at all times. And so that's what they expect. I don't think that the juxtaposition of a Donald Trump being, vaulted back into the national limelight in a presidential campaign, I don't think Georgians, even Republicans in Georgia, want that. And I honestly think it will be an excellent thing for Joe Biden head-to-head matchup in 2024.
When we come forward, a federal judge in Virginia has declared unconstitutional a set of laws and regulations that prohibit federally licensed firearms dealers from selling handguns to 18 to 20-year-olds, finding that the measure violated the Second Amendment. I want to talk about gun control and gun laws. Is that going to be the biggest issue in the 2024 presidential election? Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me I'm the boy that girl.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
And that's a fact.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Permission established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us?
All right, this Virginia ruling basically says teenagers can buy handguns in the state of Virginia. We have seen so much, so many conversations happening. At least people I know are having conversations about the number of guns in this country, the accessibility of guns, how easy it is to get guns, mass shootings, whether it's a shopping mall, a school, a church, a department store, or grocery store. Just seems like you can't turn on the television today without there being some mass shooting. I'm wondering, Kendra, in your opinion, how central will the issue of gun control and gun laws be in the 2024 presidential campaign?
Oh, I think it's going to be a central theme of the campaign. And I think we're going to see rulings like the one that was handed down in Virginia across a lot of states here pretty soon. I think the gun lobby, we all know how powerful it is in the U.S. I don't think that they're going to stop anytime soon, despite what just took place in Allen, Texas, despite, I believe, in the Texas Senate, a bill got through that also restricted the age of gun ownership and raising it up to 21. But, the gun lobby, like I said, they're going to fight things like that tooth and nail. They are still stuck in a time where people were firing with muskets. This idea that the Second Amendment allows, anyone free reign to, purchase an AR-15, an AK-47. They don't care. It doesn't matter. They want zero restrictions out here. Wild, Wild West. It's the same thing that we're seeing with now, there's no need for concealed carry in many states. People are just kind of, out here pushing the envelope, and our children are not safe. I'm a mother of 3. I have one on a college campus, one going to a college campus, and one in a very large high school here in Georgia. And it sickens me when they have red alerts and the trauma that we're inflicting on these young people. I didn't grow up like that. The way I grew up is, the biggest thing you were worried about in Arkansas was a doggone tornado coming, not somebody coming in, killing your classmates while you're sitting there trying to learn algebra. So, something's got to give here. And I think young folks are going to be up in arms on this issue. I think women and mothers are going to be up in arms on this issue. It's too much. Your children should be able to go to a mall without getting gunned down.
Yeah, all of the polls taken on the issue of sensible gun control laws, the polling results show that most Americans, the majority of Americans, not just Democrats, but Republicans and independents as well, want Congress to take some position and pass some kind of sensible gun laws. And even I've seen polling that says they want a ban of assault weapons. In light of those polls, Craig, do you see Republicans continuing to take the position that the Second Amendment gives you free reign no matter how old you are? You don't need a license, you don't need training, you don't need mental health checks, you don't need anything. Is that going to continue to be the position of Republicans, particularly Trump, if he's the nominee?
First, let's speak to the specific lawsuit. First of all, the law in Texas, or the bill that moved from committee to the floor, dealt with center fire semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines, or what is generally known as quote unquote assault weapons. But really what it comes down to is this. In this particular case, we can have an 18-year-old, we can send them halfway around the world, we can hand them a fully automatic weapon and tell them to defend the interests of the United States. But that same individual is not allowed to protect himself or his home or his property at home. We have to make up our minds. Are you an adult at 18 or are you not? You are at 18, you are criminally and civilly liable for the decisions that you make. You are allowed to vote. Either you're an adult or you're not, and we have to make up our minds as to whether or not that's going to be the case. In regards to the Second Amendment in general, I think it's important to understand that I've dealt with and I've worked in this issue area for over a decade, and my general consensus is that most people have a very little understanding of firearms technology, firearms law, and how they all intersect. In many cases, a lot of the information and a lot of the data, statistics that are put out there that people believe, quite frankly, just aren't true.
So I guess, Craig, the answer to my question is yes. The Republicans are going to continue to take the position that they've taken that we don't need
fundamental rights should be protected. Yes.
No. Well, that we don't need any gun control laws. Let's talk about
abortion. It's the second in the Bill of Rights. You can't get any more fundamental.
Hold on a second. Well, we can disagree about that. Let's talk about abortion before we run out of time. We know that the issue of abortion, or the overturning of Roe v. Wade, drove lots of people, many more people, to the polls, and that it's a winning issue for Democrats who want to make access to abortions greater than what Republicans do. So do you see Republicans continuing to argue and to fight for restricting abortions, even though the majority of the country believe women should have the rights to control their own reproductive health? Is yes or no to that?
Well, what I think what the Dobbs decision did was it took the decision. Can you answer
yes or no to that? We don't have a lot of time. We have 4 minutes.
I'm sorry. You're a lawyer. I think you understand that the answer is a little bit more intricate than that.
No, we have 3 minutes.
No, I'm not going to assume your premise.
So you can't answer the question. That's okay.
I can answer the question, but you just won't.
Is it a yes or no? I want you to answer yes or no.
What's the question again?
Are Republicans going to continue to take the position that abortion should be restricted?
What restrictions?
Well, many of
Be specific about which restrictions.
Well, just answer the question.
Well, because some restrictions yes, some restrictions no. It depends on the restrictions you're going to talk about.
Kendra.
But that's the point.
Right. You've answered it. Right. That's fine. So, Kendra, here we are. Abortion. We saw how it drove people to the polls. We saw it was a winning issue for Democrats in the midterm elections. What do you expect to see in the presidential election around the issue of reproductive freedom and rights for women?
I think you're going to see a lot of, what we saw in Missouri. Republicans don't want this to go to ballot referendums because they're getting beat down by ballot referendums. The only reason they haven't been beaten down by ballot referendums across the South on this issue is because they don't allow for ballot referendums in the South. So, in taking it to the people, to the electorate, yeah, this is a winning issue. You know why? Because people understand bodily autonomy. People understand reproductive justice. When we're on the doors at New Georgia Project, we don't have to say the word abortion. We talk about bodily autonomy, and it's not for any particular legislator, man or woman, to put their personal views off on the masses of the electorate. So yeah, I think it's going to come up, and we're going to make it an issue, and they're going to have to answer for it, because quite frankly, they're using it, and they have the means to fly the folks that they're wanting to have abortions out to safe haven states. They're just restricting it from poorer people, because this is all wrapped up into that same argument by a lot of white nationalists that we got to increase the birth rate. So let's be real about it.
Well, increase the birth rate amongst a certain demographic.
There you go.
Yeah, so let's be clear about that.
Let's also be clear. Abortion is the #1 cause of death by far for young Black children. The abortion industry has targeted the Black community.
Gun violence is, Craig. You're talking to a mama. What Black children? You ain't a child till you
has
get here.
accomplished more than the KKK could have ever hoped.
You ain't a child till you get here, Craig. Go ahead.
That's the kind of nonsense that Donald Trump was spewing last night.
Exactly.
Abortion is not the cause of death.
Gun violence is, Craig.
All I know is more Black babies die in the womb than any other group. More than any other group.
Because
I thought Black Lives Matter.
That's because of systemic racism.
Thank you.
Black maternal.
Like the targeting of the Black community by Planned Parenthood, supported by the Democratic Party.
Targeting of the Black community by these governors refusing to expand Medicaid. Don't play in my face.
We are out of time. On that note, that is the most ridiculous comment ever. Black children are not dying in the womb.
No.
Planned Parenthood is not targeting Black
Go talk to your pastor and ask him if Black children are being killed in the womb.
And the same people that are so up in arms about abortion and access to abortion will not restrict guns in schools, will not expand Medicaid so that children can have access to health care, will not make housing affordable for poor kids. So don't talk to us about.
So what you're saying is it's okay to kill Black babies because of that.
What I'm saying is it's a bunch of nonsense, because you will not support Black children. We are out of time. Thank you so much, Craig. Thank you so much, Kendra Cotton.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next voice that you hear will be Robin Ayers and the Raw Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thanks, guys.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery. You got to have vision. You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA